अच्छा सर, रिमेम्बर मोल्स मोल्स क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है? वो हमने स्टार्ट करने थे एंड आई टोल्ड यू दैट अच्छा, आई टोल्ड यू दैट मोल्स के अंदर यू पहले तो कल वाली प्रैक्टिस कर लेते थोड़ी सी, कि कोई एक बनाना कैलकुलेटर प्लीज। कोई एक नहीं, सारे सारे कोशिश करो कैलकुलेटर्स में। यू शुड हैव दोस कैलकुलेटर्स एंड जस्ट गिव मी 1 सेकंड, एक मैसेज मैं कर लूँ। uh, अच्छा अच्छा, दिस वन मोल्स में था कि whenever you have a moles question, I told you कि all moles questions would be like this, कि the equation will tell you what the ratio is, and उसमें ये होगा कि if you know the moles of any one of the things, ठीक है, remember counting would be done in moles. So if you have an equation, ठीक है, which is like the one given below. So if you have an equation like this, and if they tell you the moles of any one of the things, ratio, okay, it's 4 ratio 1 ratio 2, right? So if you know the moles of any one of these things, so let's say I know that this is 0.25 moles. So using those moles, I will be able to figure out, so using those moles, I will be able to figure out the moles of all the other re reactants and products, okay? And I told you a ratio, it's 4 ratio 1, right? So 0.25 ratio X, and you're going to cross multiply. You don't have to do that, okay? I told you a simple trick, which was take 0.25, divide it by its own ratio, multiply it by the ratio of the other substance. So this one over here would be 0.25 divided by 4 times 1. Okay, if I want to figure out this one, I'm going to take the known moles, divide it by its own ratio, multiply it by the ratio of the other substance, right? So it's 0.25 divided by 4 times 2. So ये वाला जो this is 0.25 divided by 4 times 2. So can anyone tell me what is 0.25 divided by 4? क्या आता है? 0.25 divided by 4 is 0.0625 moles. And what is 0.25 divided by, वो भी 4 है? अच्छा नहीं, वो 0.25 divided by 4 divided by 4 times 2, and that is 0.125 moles. You guys remember, this was what we were doing last time. If you know the moles of any one of the things, you'll be able to figure out the moles of the rest of the stuff, right? So, let's do a couple of more, okay? Then we'll start, and that's it, okay? That's pretty much what moles is. So I'm going to do another one. I've got 6 NaOH plus 3 Cl2, and it's forming 5 NaCl plus NaClO3 plus 3H2O. I say anyway, so I've got this, and they told me that this is 0.45 moles. I know what the ratio is. It's 6 ratio 3 ratio 5 ratio 1 ratio 3, right? So if I know the moles of this thing, I'll be able to figure out the moles of every other substance in the equation. I would know what the quantity of the other substance is. और क्या करना है? It's going to be, take this mole, divide it by its own ratio, multiply it by the ratio of the other substance, right? So this one would be 0.45 divided by 3 times 3. Sorry, 0.45 divided by its own ratio, which is 5, times 3. If I want to figure out this one, 0.45 divided by 5 times 6. ठीक है, तो 0.45 divided by 5 times 6. If I want to find out what this is, I'm going to take 0.45 divided by 5 times 1. So divide by 5 times 1, and the next one would be 0.45 divided by 5 times 3. ठीक है, तो this is what you're going to get. एक कोई बता दे क्या values आ रही हैं? What is 0.45 divided by, as a 0.45 divided by 5 times 6, and this is 0.54 moles. Okay, this one, the next one is 0.45 divided by 5, and then I have to times 3. So that's 0.27 moles. That's 0.45 divided by 5. 0.45 divided by 5, that's 0.09 moles. And that's going to be 0.27 moles as well. So ये सारों को perfectly, is this thing perfectly clear that you know the moles of any one of the substance in the equation, you will be able to figure out the moles of all the substances in the equation, ठीक है? Is this clear? Clear है कि नहीं clear? Yes or no? Yeah, is this clear? Baad, Rania, Zarar, is this clear?
जी सर.
बस ठीक है, so that's what moles is. You need to know this, and there are 4 formulas, ठीक है? Baki, there are other formulas as well. We'll come to those later. But there are 4 formulas, इनको जरा 4 main formulas, ठीक है? Which are these? अच्छा, these 4 main formulas. Okay, moles is number of. अच्छा, so once you know moles, you can convert those moles into anything, number of particles. You know moles, you can convert that into mass. You know moles, you can convert it into concentration or volume. You know moles, you can convert it into volume of gas. Okay, so the rest is just formulas. Okay, the चारों formulas, so just remember those. Number of particles divided by the Avogadro's number, that's moles. Mass divided by molar mass, that's moles. Concentration of a solution is what? It's the number of particles in moles in a particular volume, right? So its concentration is moles over volume. For a gas, moles is volume of gas in m cube divided by 24. So anyways, we're going to do our first question, and pretty much all the questions that you're going to see in the past papers as well, they are going to be very, very similar. Either will be the basic format kare. So for example, they give us a question which is that there is 30 grams of magnesium reacts with uh, 500 cm cube. So it reacts with 500 cm cube of water, of phosphoric acid. So 500 cm cube of phosphoric acid, and what you're being asked is number 1. Calculate the concentration of phosphoric acid. Number 2, calculate the volume of H2 gas produced. So that's a very typical question. I mean, they might break it down into parts or something like that, but number 1 thing, you need to know what the ratio is. You need to know what the equation is. So it's magnesium reacting with phosphoric acid. Remember, what was phosphoric acid? Kya tha? H3, PO4. Metal plus acid, what is produced? If you have metal plus acid, it's going to produce salt and hydrogen gas, because the H2 gas would be knocked out. And I mean, the H is going to get knocked out, and it's going to be replaced by Mg. So it's going to be MgPO4. PO4 is -3 and Mg is group 2, so it's +2. So the formula would be Mg3 and PO4 would be, kitna hoga? PO4 twice, right? So Mg3, PO4 twice. Now you need to balance this. So there are 3 Mgs on that side. There should be 3 Mgs on this side. PO4, there are 2 Ps on that side, right side. There should be 2 Ps on this side. There's 6 Hs, there are 3, that's 6 Hs, right? So it's balanced, and your equation ratio is 3 mg, 2 phosphoric acid, 1 salt produced, 3 H2 gas, right? As just that's the first step. You need to know what the ratio is, in what ratio are the reactants and products reacting or getting produced, right? Up the second thing, बल्कि इसको लिख लेते हैं कहीं so the trick is,
So
अच्छा
what is
well,
the MR of Mg?
वो 24 है. अच्छा पहले वो ट्रिक कर लेते हैं. ट्रिक ये कि फर्स्ट थिंग, find the ratio in which reactants, yeah, ratio between reactants and products. I said, so how do you find that? You would probably need a balanced equation. Like even if you don't have sometimes you don't even need the balanced equation. But mostly you would need a balanced equation. Second thing, once you know that, you need to find the moles of at least one reactant or product. Anything in the equation. You need to know the moles of at least one thing. Third thing, if you know the moles of any one of the things, you find the moles of all the things. Okay, based on that, you're going to find the moles of all reactants. Actually, you don't need to find the moles of all reactants. जिसका पूछा है उसी का निकालोगे ना. मतलब why would you waste time finding the moles of all reactants, right? So the trick is you find the ratio between reactants and products. You need a balanced equation. You need to find the moles of at least one reactant and use that to find the moles of all reactants and products. So anyways, over here, based on the data that's given to you, kiske moles, whose moles can you figure out? You got 30 grams of Mg. Can you figure out the moles of 30 grams of Mg? I said the other data that's given is 500 cm cube of phosphoric acid. Now that is, I mean, you know two formulas. One is moles is equal to mass divided by molar mass, right? And the other formula is for solutions, which is concentration is moles over volume. Now, in this part, you can't really find the moles because with volume, you also need the concentration, then you can find the moles, right? So this data over here is kind of not important because you can't use that. But this one, you can find the moles, right? So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to try and figure out the moles of Mg. So how do you figure out the moles of Mg? It's moles is the mass which is given, that's 30 grams, divided by the molar mass of Mg, which is in the pure table is 24. So how many moles is this? There are
1.25.
1.25. So you're getting 1.25 moles. Again, so if you find the moles of one thing, you should now be able to find out the moles of everything. Okay, so this would be, वो क्या था, shortcut of ratios क्या था? It's take the moles divided by its own ratio, multiplied by the ratio of the other substance. So it's 1.25 divided by 3 times 2, right? What is this? It's 1.25 divided by 3 times 1. This is 1.25 divided by 3 times 3, right? So take the mole, divide by its own ratio, multiplied by the other ratio. Take the moles, divide by its own ratio, multiplied by that ratio, and you get this, right? The Saroga batao, what is this 1.25 divided by 3 times 2? What do we get? Divide by 3 or times 2? Zar क्या है? 1.25 divided by 3?
0.833.
अच्छा तो ये moles हैं 0.833
P3.
And what's the next one?
तो इसके मैंने निकाले जरूरी नहीं है क्वेश्चन डिमांड में ही है।
अच्छा चलो ठीक है, इसको छोड़ देते हैं। Last one, that's 1.25 moles, right? बस ये। अच्छा, anyway, so now we can answer the question. He's saying calculate the concentration of phosphoric acid, which is this one. So we have the moles. So what is the formula of concentration of phosphoric acid? Okay, we need to find that out. So what is the formula? Its concentration is what? Moles over volume. We have the moles, we have the volume as well. So the concentration would be, the moles are 0.833, or volume be given. And in the question, the volume is given. That's 500 cm cube. In dm cube, that's going to be 0.5. So 0.833 moles divided by 0.5 dm cube, right? So once you know moles, whatever is going to ask you, that's going to be pretty simple. You just have to, you've got 4 formulas. You can use that. He's asking for the concentration. Or use the concentration formula and find what the answer is. What is the answer? क्या आ रहा है? What are we getting for this? What's 0.833 divided by 0.5? You got 0.5. Why did I do 0.5? It should be in dm cube, right? So 500 divided by 1000. That's how you convert it into dm cube. So 0.833 divided by 0.5, and that's 1.66. So this one is coming out to be 1.666 mole per dm cube. So that's my answer. So what is the other thing he's asking? He's asking for the volume of H2 gas. How do you find the volume of H2 gas? Well, you have the moles. The volume of gas का क्या था? Moles is what? Volume of gas divided by 24 dm cube. Well, you have the moles now. So the volume of gas is going to be 24 times the moles, which is 1.25. जो कि क्या बनेगा वो? It's 24 into 1.25 is that? 24 times 1.25. That's 30. And it will be in decimeter cube. Okay, so again, I'm going to repeat. Okay, all moles questions would be, you would need an equation. You would need the ratio in which the reactants and the products are reacting, right? And you would need to know based on the data, you would need to calculate the moles of any one of the substances. In our case, it was mg that was easy to calculate, mass given thi. So we did mass divided by molar mass, and we got the moles. Once we got the moles using ratios, we were able to figure out the moles of everything. Okay? And then we just answered what he's asking for. बस एक दफा मोल्स सारों के पता लग गए ना, तो then whatever he's asking for, just answer that. Just use the formula. Concentration, use the concentration formula, right? And you will get your mole per dm cube. You want the volume of gas, use that formula. Moles is volume of gas divided by 24 dm cube, and you'll get your answer. Okay? So is this clear? Sanjay, Rabira, Zara, Ribat, these are clear?
Yes, sir.
Acha, okay, we're going to do more questions like this. We're going to do another one. Let's say we've got, बल्कि सीधा past papers ना करें. वो बाकी, there are other formulas as well, like yield, etc. But that's like, those are minor things. This is your main moles questions. अच्छा, पढ़े हुए का है, एक second. अच्छा, so D4 questions. Just 1 second. So remember, doing past papers, the trouble again is that chemistry में everything pretty much everything is mixed up, right? The first chapter is mixed with the last chapter and so on. Let's go. Just hold on 1 second. Moles is 151. Achha, so we'll just do selective questions right now. Okay? Only till the part that we've studied. Okay, so we've got this reaction, and I think the ratio is known. The ratio is pretty simple this time. Ye reaction, it's 1:1:1:1:1, right? So pretty simple. Whatever moles, iske jo moles honge, this is going to have the same moles, this is going to have the same moles, this is going to have the same moles. Now look at the data and tell me what is the information that's given? Well, hydrochloric acid, the concentration is given, right? So for HCl, you're given the concentration, right? You remember its concentration. Well, they told us its concentration. Mole per dm cube by default is concentration. Well, you can't really do much with concentration because you can't find moles because concentration is moles over volume, right? So by just using concentration, you can't find moles.
तो वह वॉल्यूम तो दिया हुआ है आगे
हाँ दिया हुआ है। मैं समझा लिथियम हाइड्रोक्साइड का दिया हुआ है ठीक है so volume is also given so ठीक है now you can find moles right so that's easy okay we are able to figure out the अच्छा what would be your moles would be concentration times volume right if I rearrange that the concentration is what it's 2.2 and the volume of the acid needed to neutralize this is 20 cm cube so the volume is 20 cm cube ये थोड़ा गौर से पढ़ लेना make sure the volume of the acid needed
0.02 decimeter cube
ठीक है उसको divide by 1000 right so how many moles is this
0.044
so 0.042 moles so again this is simple
4
you
4 sir 4 4
442
4 4 just 4 4
so 4 4 so ठीक है एक के moles पता लग गया ना you would know the moles of every one of them because all of them is 1:1 so this would be 0.044 moles right this would also be 0.044 moles and this would also be 0.044 moles ठीक है although we don't need to know most of these moles so what is he asking he's asking for the concentration of lithium hydroxide iski concentration so what is the formula for concentration that's moles over volume we know the moles it's 0.044 the volume is also given okay, how much lithium hydroxide that's 25 cm cube dm cube mein kya hoga it's going to be 0.025 so that's the moles and that's your dm cube right so what do we get there a moles was given a volume was already given in the question 1.76 that's your answer that's it Achha, हाँ, but the one thing that you have to be careful with, and that is that you have to state your answers properly. But ये तो मैंने arrows बना दिए, you're not going to do that. You're going to write, you're going to write a small statement, a very small statement. For example, you're doing this, you're going to write this calculation, right? You're going to show this calculation. And on top of that, you're going to write moles of HCl or calculating moles of HCl. Just a small statement, let them know what's happening. Then I just did ratios. I mean, what you could do is you can actually show the same working like this. I mean, that would be sufficient as well. But what you can do is you can show a small part that LiOH and HCl have the same ratio, right? It's 1:1, right? So you can tell them that since HCl has 0.044 moles, LiOH is also going to have exactly the same moles, right? And then what? Then you're going to write, you're calculating the concentration. So you write a small statement, concentration of LiOH, and then do this and then show the working. ठीक है? तो थोड़ा सा ना उसको just answer it in a decent way. Show them this, and last line, show them this. ठीक है? अच्छा, but otherwise, is the question clear? Clear है कि नहीं clear? शानजे रानिया बहुत देर है, तो हम आगे चलते हैं. Clear है कि नहीं clear? मैं अगला कर रहा हूँ. Yeah, is this clear? Okay. अच्छा, पता नहीं why most of these solved. अच्छा, so this is solved as well. अच्छा, what I can do is I can sort of rub this off. And so ठीक है, now we're going to try and solve this one. Achha, so you've got this question and there's an equation given, and the equation has a ratio, right? It says one reacts with two, produces one of this, one of this, one of this, right? So we know what the ratio is. Calculate the maximum mass of carbon dioxide. So he's looking for the mass of carbon dioxide first thing.
But
So
in this reaction, we'll first have to find the limiting reactant, right?
तो ये limiting वाला है.
दोनों के मोल निकल सकते हैं ना सर.
अच्छा हाँ, नहीं, फिर इसको छोड़ दो, वो भी हम करेंगे बाद में, फिर सॉल्व करेंगे. एक सेकेंड, एक तो अनसॉल्व किधर है, 1 सेकेंड. मैंने भी सिंपल मोल्स वाले क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने थे. जस्ट सेकेंड. अच्छा, इसमें व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम सिल्वर क्रोमेट टू बी obtained? नहीं, अभी सिंपल मोल्स. अच्छा, एक सेकेंड रुकना, मैं आगे जाऊँ, बहुत सारे सॉल्व हुए हैं. इसको दोबारा. तो यहाँ से कर लेते हैं. ये भी लिमिटिंग एक्सेस का ही है वैसे. नहीं, इधर बताया हुआ उसने. नहीं, फिर भी मैं आई वुडंट डू दैट. ये चलो पहले ना वो लिमिटिंग एक्सेस कर लेते हैं, जो हर क्वेश्चन में आ रहा है. लेट्स डू दैट एंड देन वी कम बैक. कहाँ पे? एक्चुअली लिमिटिंग एक्सेस के लिए टाइम कम ही है. we'll do a question over here. Okay, then we'll do the limiting excess and we'll do the rest of the part, and then we'll start solving moles questions from past paper. So here's another moles question. The question states that there is 200 cm cube of H2O2 decomposes, aqueous H2O2 decomposes and produces kitna produces, let's say 2000 cm cube, ends up producing 2000 cm cube uh, of O2 gas. Yeah, that's the question. And the question is saying, find, there's only one part. Find the concentration of H2O2. And let's assume that the reaction is given to you. Okay, they've given how the H2O2 is decomposing. So you don't have to worry about this. So this equation is already given. अच्छा, ये देखो, ये balanced है. It's 4 H's, 4 H's. There are 2 4 oxygens, 4 oxygens. It is balanced. अच्छा, this equation is already given to you. Now, based on the information that's given, and remember this is an aqueous solution, H2O2 is a liquid, and O2 is a gas. We know what the ratio is. The ratio is 2:2:1, right? We know what the ratio is. Now, based on the information that's given, whose moles can you figure out? वो कौन सा इसके moles you can figure out?
H2O2.
No, you can't क्योंकि for a solution, its concentration is moles over volume, right?
Sorry, sir. Grams लगा मुझे.
हाँ,
O2
लेकिन
का नहीं कर सकता.
हाँ तो solution के लिए because remember it's a solution, ठीक है? For a solution, this is the formula that its concentration is moles over volume. So the volume is given, लेकिन with just volume you can't find out moles, right? So you can't use, I mean you can't figure out the moles of H2O2. अच्छा लेकिन for oxygen gas you can figure out the moles. क्योंकि it's a gas. Gas का क्या formula था? If it's इसके निकालो, if it's moles of a gas was what? It's volume of gas divided by 24 dm cube, right? So the volume of gas in dm cube is 2000 cm cube is how many dm cube? It's 2 dm cube, right? ये 2000 cm cube है, ठीक है? So that is 2 dm cube of gas. Divide that by 24. So tell me how many moles is this? कितना है? 2 divided by 24. What is it? Point कितना? 0.8. You confirm कर लो. 0.0833 moles, right? So that is the moles of O2, right? And once you know the moles of O2, तो क्या होगा? It's what is it? What's the way? It's take the moles divided by its own ratio multiplied by the other ratio, right? So double करना, multiply by 2. 0.0833 divided by 1 times 2. So if you double that, it's going to be 1 point, I think it's going to turn into 1.667 moles. So, and this would also be 1.6, 1.667. It's going to be 0.16. अच्छा ये आ गए 0.1667 moles. Now, what is he asking about H2O2? He's asking you to figure out what the concentration is. We know that concentration is what? It's moles over volume. The moles are now known. It's 0.1667. Volume is given it up over 200 cm cube. That is the volume. In dm cube, it's 0.2. So the finally you have what? You have 0.1667. So 0.1667, divide that by 0.2, and you get 0.8335 mole per decimeter cube. That's your answer, okay? So remember what I did over here was that they gave us information about oxygen. I was able to figure out the moles of oxygen gas, and it was a gas, the volume divided by 24. Once I had the moles, I was able to figure out the moles of everything in the equation. And then I answered what he's looking for. Concentration is moles over volume. So I just took the moles, divided by its own volume, which is given over here. And I was able to figure out what the answer is. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Saro clear. Shante, is this clear? Bahad, Dani, is this clear? ठीक है मानूर. अच्छा और क्या कर सकते हैं? Let's say you've got अच्छा, so I've got so I've got PCl5 and it's decomposing into P4 plus Cl2. So I think that's 4 PCl5 and there's going to be 5, 4, 20, so 10 Cl2 gas molecules. Now this is a solid as well, and this is a gas that is getting produced. So he's saying, can we find out the mass of PCl5 needed to produce of 200 dm cube of Cl2 gas. So that's the question. Now, again, the equation is given, the ratio is given. He gets what's the ratio? It's 4 ratio, 1 ratio 10. And you can now you need to know the moles of one thing in the equation, and that one thing is Cl2, right? It's a gas. So gas का क्या होता है? It's volume of gas divided by divide that by 24 dm cube, right? So the volume of gas is 200. Divide that by 24, we'll find the moles, right? So you're going to find the moles of one thing. So what is 200 divided by 24? Let's see, power by 8.33, पता नहीं क्यों आई जा रहा है. So that's 8.33 moles, right? So 8.33 moles. Now, using ratios, I can figure out the moles of all of this. Okay, so the next one, P4, that's going to be 8.33 divided by 10 times 1. So what is 8.33 divided by 10 times 1? So this is going to be 0.833 moles. And I don't think you need those. वो अगले के निकालो. What is this? That's 8.33 divided by 10 times 4. So that is 8.33, divide that by 10. And then times multiply by 4, that's 3.33. So this comes out to be 3 point. Now, what is he asking? He's asking for the mass of PCl5. We're going to find that one. Okay, so the mass of PCl5. So, अच्छा वो क्या होगा mass of PCl5? That's going to be. वो क्या था? Moles is what? Mass divided by molar mass, right? The molar mass of this thing would be Cl. Molar mass of Cl. Cl क्या होता है? That's 35.5 in the periodic table times 5. Plus, इसमें ना P add करना है. P is 31. So if I add that, it's going to be add ही नहीं हुआ. Just 1 second. 35.5 times 5. 177. And then add that's a plus 31. 208.5. So it's going to be 3.33 times 208.5, and that's going to be my mass. वो calculate कर लेना खुद ही, ठीक है? चलो ये clear है सारों को? Is this clear?
जी सर.
So चलो ठीक है, we'll do a limiting excess tomorrow. And फिर वो चीजें कम ही रह जाएंगी. It's just application of the things. So we'll continue tomorrow then, ठीक है? Okay, everyone. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
Office.